At the current world right now, with the easy access of the internet and the infinite information right at our fingertips, ideologies and beliefs are spread more readily, leading to many people to develop different sets of morals and ethical values as time passes. And corporations know that better than everyone. They know that people prefer brands or corpos that align with their own values and beliefs, and whichever demographic seems more plentiful or profitable, they cater to. Hell, that's the reason why a lot of Western and all kinds of companies actually just bow down to China. However, in occasions where they actively do stay silent, some demographics actively demand these corporations to take a stand or try to improve society. That since they have the resources and the power, they have the social responsibility to not just make better products or even fix and make up for the problems they themselves cause, but to generally make this world a better place. This is a cause that has its own pros and cons, like the fact that there are important issues being slowly addressed like climate change, but also the fact that some companies' objectives no longer become creating a good product nor advancing the cause they advocate for, but the superficial appeasement of this very loud and often very vocal small demographic. In any case, with this kind of pressure, some companies fold. Some remain their ground and others try to appease the people by sometimes falsifying those values, superficially making themselves look good when in reality they're just trying to check them easy brownie points. But companies that exceed expectations are those that seem to generally look after the well-being of those around them, be it their employees, their demographic, or society at large, while also producing good content. Those are the ones that manage to get people behind their backs and get loved. And nowhere is this more evident in the companies that involve persons on the front side of things rather than the back end, in industries where the people are their products. Industries like the VTuber industry. But you know what else people should worship? Absolutely good food, baby, which the sponsor of this video provides, Tokyo Treats and Sakura Co. You like Japanese food, I like Japanese food, we all like Japanese food, and now we can enjoy them at the comfort of our own home. Tokyo Treats and Sakura Co. are subscription box services that will hand you really good Japanese snacks, each with 20 exclusive limited and seasonal flavored Japanese treats. Tokyo Treats is more so modern Japanese snacks, while Sakura Co. offers more traditional ones. So whatever your tastes are and what you're in the mood for, either snack boxes is sure to satisfy them. And in this season, it's time to be jolly. So we got a set of Christmas-themed snacks from both boxes that were curated by the finest goddamn snack pros in Japan. So let's open this mother up. Same as last time, every single one of these boxes have their own unique brands of booklets, and these booklets contain allergen information and all kinds of ingredients that'll make you, be cautious of your own allergic reactions or stuff that you might not want to have. Like if you're lactose intolerant, generally things that'll, get you guys a little wild and wacky down your tummy. These booklets also have a great wealth of information about Japan itself and the food they have, making it so that, whatever food you'll concern, it's all gonna have their own sort of, let's say, cultural and historical background, so you'll appreciate them better. Anyway, we have a lot of good shit here, and we are going to literally mess all of this up, show you everything, just so I can sell you on the products better in 3, 2... Alright, so these are all the products. As you can see, it's very much plentiful. If you count all of them, it probably rounds up to around 40. So we already have some items of interest here. So I'm going to absolutely demolish this in another video. Because you're gonna have all of these. I can't consume all of this, chat. But I imagine you and some of your friends or even your entire family can. So again, I failed you. I said I wouldn't be able to finish it all, but well, I haven't finished it all, but I pretty much demolished like 70% of it. This fucking potato, shit. This shit is like the best actual potato chips I've ever ate. It's better than fucking Lay's, it's better than patatas, it's better than fucking piatos. And this shit, chat, this shit's the bomb. This shit is also the bomb, but I've already shown you guys earlier. And this shit is the highlight. I don't know what this was called, but this was the bomb in the Sakura Co box. Jesus. Actually, genuinely good. If you've been following my channel for the last couple months, you might have realized that I was promoting this thing willy-nilly, and that's because that's just how much I like it. It's one thing to enjoy these snacks by myself, but another thing entirely to give it to my friends and to my family. You know, brag that you have some weeb food. So if you'd like to have a special offer, use the link in the description and use my code NUSAGI to check it out. No, seriously, go get them. Ad over. I've talked at length about how VTuber agencies work and their various pros and cons here in the industry, but what I'd like to tell you guys is that that video is generalized, more so a guide than a specific breakdown of each and every agency. And while I would very much like to be able to do that, unfortunately, I am not aware of the specific customs and culture of all the big and small corpos. Hell, we haven't even tapped on the Japanese VTuber corpos outside Nijisanji or Hololive. This makes it so that I can't honestly be able to tell you the little things that will make you interested in them, so again, you will have to do that yourself. And while we talked briefly on what constitutes as traditional or non-traditional agencies, we haven't dived in on the cultural differences and customs that make traditional agencies and non-traditional agencies be so different. But this video will not be around that, although I do have plans on making such a video. Rather, this video will be one thing that a lot of agencies share, regardless if they're traditional or not, especially if they've managed to find their niche or have already found a loyal demographic. It's a culture that persists throughout the industry. Again, one that's actually not exclusive to the VTuber industry, but one that has a unique variant here due to its parasocial aspect. And that's the fact that people absolutely worship VTuber agencies, and in relation, also their CEOs. When I say worshipping, it doesn't necessarily refer to people who just support the agency casually. Those that just likes multiple members of the same agency and as such has a positive opinion of the company. I heavily mean the people who go out there and act like sports fans, the tribalists, and those who go out of their way to not just fanatically support the agency they like and smear the name of those they don't like, consuming everything that particular agency produces and getting to know a lot of the parts around them, to the point of being genuinely unable to acknowledge or understand the flaws of their favored agency or shift their opinions because of such. Someone whose entire personality and reason to go online is not just their Oshi, but the agency they belong to. These are the types of people that genuinely won't go out of their comfort zones to find or get to know other VTubers. If it's not within VShoujo or Hololive or Nijisanji or whichever their favorites are, they're not gonna watch. Note that I intentionally used sports fans as a comparison, because I genuinely do think that's an accurate and interesting parallel. The psychology of sports fans plus the psychology of corporate reverence is something that makes up this industry's company worship culture. Let me explain. The way sports fans operate is this feeling that their support matters, that their support affects the teams they rally behind. Ultimately, it fosters feelings of camaraderie with other sports fans and a sort of parasociality with the team as well. Greatest of all though is that sense of community, whether genuine or not. Something for people to bond over on a macro level, or something to talk about. Sports fans commit a lot of their resources, a bit of their identity and self-image into supporting the team of their choice. And with that, it grants this sense of their favorites being the best VTuber agency, because they do things that they like and have the values that they hold, and this thought leads them to judge other agencies based on the standards of the one they like the most. A place where the demographic can feel comfortable and at ease knowing that a certain fanbase they call home will follow a standard or custom that they know to love or deem natural. And since few other VTuber agencies can't have that same standard or benefits or follow in the same stead, they deem other agencies as inferior. It feels good to think that your support means to a lot of places, that you're part of the ship, part of the crew, that you think you are supporting the best VTuber agency and that they hold the standard. Pair that up with more layers of parasociality with the VTubers and then you develop a certain variant of fanaticism. Because you're already parasocial to a lot of VTubers of the agency, you might as well be invested in the agency itself, and that's a very effective way to encourage brand and agency loyalty. Your loyalty and support to the agency means your Oshis get supported by extension, getting more amenities, events, and projects and avenues to make more content. And if your Oshi gets supported, they get happy. And if they are happy, you are happy. It becomes a positive feedback loop that ultimately means that you will want to continue to support the agency you like for the sake of the VTubers you like, especially in the financial sense. But it's not as dystopian as I probably make it sound, because while this may have its own set of cons, it also has its own set of pros. As a positive, this means that if your support of the agency is actually bearing a lot of fruit, your Oshis are getting all sorts of events and brand deals and getting happier and happier. You feel satisfied. Your financial and emotional investment in these VTubers has been vindicated, ultimately reinforcing your support of the agency and perhaps even getting you to double down on them. However, this also means that you are vulnerable into falling down a deep rabbit hole. Soon enough, you'll be unable to acknowledge the faults of your favored agency and even defend them in the circumstances where they should not be defended. If your support of the agency isn't bearing much fruit, you make excuses for them. You've bet so much on the particular horse to an extent that you can't see yourself abandoning it any longer. Not any different from the idol and K-pop industry actually, regardless if the agency is traditional or not. But what I'd like to tell you guys is that it wasn't really like this originally. VTubing at first did actually not have this agency worship culture. While the idea of fanaticism for the VTuber itself was the norm back then as it is now, the concept of worshipping the company behind the VTubers wasn't exactly prominent. In fact, I quite remember that it was something to not care about or be indifferent of. What with the utter disaster that was the Game Boot Project drama or the Kizuna Eye clone drama, among other things. Back then, it wasn't the norm for VTuber companies to launch VTubers in branded waves the same way they do now. They were sporadic, uncoordinated, still exploring what can work and what won't. Nijisanji was the one who changed that, popularizing the standard and concept of coordinated and named generations. And really, that was what started it. Pair that up with the rise of idol culture in the scene, the seeds of agency worship soon took root. Back then and even now, it was the easiest for Japanese agency VTubers to find companionship and collaborations with VTubers from within the agency, rather than outside it. Not that it was impossible, just that it was a lot more convenient, what with permissions and whatever bureaucratic proceedings they have. And as these VTubers started collabing with each other, inside jokes and memes started forming. Jokes and memes exclusive to that own group, exclusive to that own agency. And because different VTuber agencies work things differently, they develop their own cultures that will attract all sorts of fanbase. And with this, people started getting loyal to the agency culture, getting interested in the same jokes and whatever they have. But not exactly the corporate agency itself. Not yet, anyway. Because there was one person that made this one step possible. And that person is A-chan.
ヨシが相手を飲み込んで卵にして産むじゃないですか。あれになんか謎のエロスをずっと感じていて、なんかその飲み込んでスマブラのヨシのお尻が出る瞬間を一時停止ボタンで私コマ撮りで一人で撮ってたんです。
A-chan is perhaps the most popular and well-known staff member in any VTuber agency, and that's for good reason. This is the poster child of the Hololive behind-the-scenes team, and it was her frequent appearances in all of Hololive's past and present streams that humanized the Cover Corp company and the Hololive management team. Regardless if you realized it or not, when you simp for A-chan, you essentially also simped for management. And soon enough, people like Shinove came in, also humanizing the management of Holostars. The managers of Holo-en like Enma started joining the girls in their collabs, and Noraka came in too. All these served to help the Hololive management not look like your average robotic and NPC-like Japanese company staff. And while other VTuber agencies got their own share of agency worship even without the A-chans and the Nodokas or the Shinoves, there is a reason why this is very much a permanent thing in Hololive more so than in everywhere else. It's not just because Hololive has the biggest fanbase. It's because other VTuber agencies, despite having named or mascotified their staff members, has not humanized their management and the company itself by having them publicly interact. So if any other VTuber agency out there is watching, maybe have a mascot represent your management so you build trust and connect deeper with your fans. Having an A-chan or other mascots will give the fanbase a feeling that the agency, or at least the ones managing their Oshis, are not completely out of touch, especially if they communicate with the fanbase a lot. And I think having that kind of rapport can establish something special between the agency and the community. What I am saying is that yes, as a VTuber CEO, you're going to want people to be absolutely loyal to your brand despite all the hiccups that your agency suffers. That they'd be patient, understanding, and would even give you more than 1 or 2 chances to improve. And one of the biggest way to do that, if it's not possible for your talents and your staff members to do, is to show off as the company's CEO. CEOs lead the company, getting all sorts of praise and clout and the song and dance whenever the agency gets massive W's. But at the same time, they are also the ones that gets the blame, the face that everyone points at for anything going wrong, even if they have nothing to do with the drama that happened. CEOs are the lightning rods for attention whenever a company does anything good or anything bad. And when things get good, they also themselves become worshipped. Remember what I talked earlier about how people align themselves with companies and figures that hold similar values and cater to their leanings? Fortunately for CEOs, or unfortunately depending on the circumstances, there is only one thing that VTuber fans value and expect from agencies above all else. And that is for their Oshis to be treated right, getting the support and opportunities that they deserve. This one simple value, this one desire, is the most easily exploitable thing to have as a community, yet at the same time the most troublesome to do. While it is a very predictable thing and makes it so that the fanbase is very easy to pander to, it's hard to let the general community understand why the hard decisions have to be done or why certain ways just won't work, even if they frequently bitch about it. In a way, most of the VTuber fanbase is very childlike with their demands. However, if any CEO with a company can make it appear that they are treating their talents right and that they are in a good home, can control the masses. But that's not enough, because to get people to also be loyal, they have to be given the impression that their CEO is down to earth and understands what people want. That in a sea of very cold and calculating, heartless and sociopathic CEOs, you are different. When the VTuber CEOs get down and personal with their VTubers, actively and personally help them, support them in all the manners they can, hell, even do the most basic things like showing up for their birthday or congratulating them in public whenever the VTuber accomplishes something impressive, these people get absolutely worshipped. Even if you are the coldest, most ruthless man alive and you need to be to get the business rolling, you have to appear quite the opposite to the fan base. That you prioritize the care of your VTubers and the community more so than the profits. To get worshipped, it's not enough to lead the company in a good direction and be profitable. It's not enough to be competent behind the scenes. You also have to be a performer yourself, a meme. Much like how your VTubers need a model to do their job, you need to have a persona to be loved as well. And in doing so, you cement your status as a good VTuber agency and a good CEO. In doing so, you get people to not just worship your products and your company, but also worship you. And when you achieve this, you will have a fan base of very patient, very understanding, and very easy to please, very gullible, and very loyal people. I am not saying that most VTuber CEOs are like this, or is this cunning, or have this goal. I can't know that for sure. But remember what I said earlier in the beginning of the video, where some companies falsify values and half-assedly act in accordance to the demand of their demographic? There are agencies that do this. Companies where words like talent priority or support is more so a slogan than a principle. And that's not a thing exclusive to this industry. The suits that enter the VTuber scene, the businessmen seeking to put their foothold, a lot of them knows nothing about VTubers. They don't care for the cultures that they have, nor understand the responsibility and the cost they undertake when they claim to wish to start a VTuber agency. Or even if they do care, it's not about a need or a desire to improve this industry. It's just a means to make money, to exploit the people here. But there are those clever enough to get you to think that they do, put up charades to deceive you, get small sects of the community to trust them, make them look smarter, passionate, and competent than they actually are. And we need to be careful about that. At the end of the day, people, whether they be VTubers or VTuber fans, come to this scene for escapism, give you something to enjoy about for a while. But when the more sinister figures and corporations manage to lure you in and use those desires against you, manage to hide their skeletons better, give you exactly the sweet poison that you start asking for, you are vulnerable into becoming their cash cows for a long time. You are vulnerable into becoming theirs. So heed this warning, fellow VTuber fan. Do not worship any VTuber agency.